Welcome to the Yarn Parlor. My name is Alison. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as A21. This is my podcast about knitting, spinning, and knitwear design. Today is Tuesday, July 21st? June 21st. June 21st. This is episode 21, and you can find show notes in the Ravelry group. Link is below. And welcome to new and returning viewers. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about some new stuff. That's the general. I called it what's new in my show notes, and I'm like, whatever. Like, it's a general statement of things I wanted to highlight in the beginning of the episode. What's new stuff. And then FOs, whips, the spin along. I wanted to talk about how to finish your yarns in this episode, what I've been spinning, and then some fiber acquisitions. And I think that's it. It's going to be a bit of a long episode. So let's get started. A lot of it's spinning, so, you know, the spin along. I'm talking a lot about spinning. So let's get started with what's new. So silly. Okay, so I wanted to highlight a couple things that I've found in the past couple weeks that I thought was really cool. The first being Sylvia Bobilvia's new pattern is called, what is it called? It is called The Rain Outside. And it's similar to the Waiting for Rain shawl. It has that short row lace technique that I really like in it. But the short rowing technique is only on one side of the shawl. So it kind of gives this really cool shape to it, I think, anyway. And I think I'm going to do that shawl pattern as my next Christmas gift shawl. Yeah, because I like it. It also has a stripe to it on hers. Anyway, so that's really cool. It came out a couple weeks ago, actually, but I forgot to mention it in the last podcast, so I'm mentioning it now. The next thing that I wanted to talk about or mention is I saw this in Miriam's Instagram. She was reposting for a giveaway for this yarn company. It's a UK indie dyer, and her name, or the company's name, is Queuing Fibre. It's the letter Q, I-N-G. And her colors are amazing. The yarn looks absolutely awesome, and I think that if I were to break my yarn diet, first I would buy the Hedgehog Fibers Jelly colorway to finish my fringed scarf. But a close second would probably be some of this yarn. I love the bright speckled yarn combinations that she uses. You should check them out. I'm going to put her Etsy shop in the show notes, obviously. And I don't know, my birthday is coming up in a couple days, and I think that I should buy some yarn. Just a little bit, I don't know. I'm debating. But anyway, I wanted to talk about those two things in my What's New section, because I thought they were kind of cool. Moving on to FOs. I finished my second design project, which is like the Shifted Seams tank, only it's a boxy tee. And this was actually the original design, and then I was like, oh, a tank will probably be easier, so I'll do a tank first. The tank was way harder because this is, like I said, it's a boxy tee. It has no shaping, but it does have the shifted seams to the front and the back, and the stripe pattern just accentuates it. And the front and back, as you can see, has an uneven hem. And the slits for the front and back, I also made different heights. So it's a little bit higher in the front, and then in the back, I seamed it until the top of the rib. It's a stockinette. No shaping, like I said. The seams, I outlinked the seams just like the shifted tank, so my seam allowance is placed to the outside, but the floats from the striping are placed to the inside, so you don't see the floats. Right there. I only picked up the stitches to seam on the outside. The neckline is a simple crochet chain, but it allowed me to play around with the neckline, because I think a lot of boat necks, it's like a small boat neck, if you will. But I think a lot of boat neck patterns are a little bit too wide, so I just wanted this simple detailed neck trim. It's not even a trim, it's just a single crochet chain. You can add your own trim. I wanted this because then you can almost adjust the neckline within reason. Obviously, if you shrink it in too much or too tight, it's going to create a puckering, but this blocked out to like a 10-inch neck width. I think I was going for an 11, so it probably could have, if I loosened up my crochet chain, I could have had an 11-inch neck width. So within like an inch, you can play around with how loose or tight your neckline is. The shoulder seam, I did a 3-needle bind off, which was my first time doing a 3-needle bind off. And it came out really nice. I like it's less bulky, and it has a nice finish on the inside as well. I don't know what else to say. I really like this style. I'm going to finish typing up the pattern, and then I'm going to put it up on Ravelry as a free pattern. It's really fun to play around with, and it has a really, I think it's a really hip vibe that it's got going on. And I like that you can play around with it. Like, you don't have to do the stripes. You can do a solid color boxy tee. I actually have some silk that I found the other day that I might try and make another one out of plain color. You can link the seams to the inside. You don't have to do an outlink seam. You can play around with the height of the trim. You can even line up the body lengths. It's so, like, the pattern will be very easy to modify on your own. And I think all of these attributes add nice character to this design though. So yeah, so here is my FO. And it was so funny because I was so like done with this. All I had to do, I think the last thing I had to do was just seam it up. And I was like, there are ends and I don't feel like weaving and I don't feel like seaming and I don't feel like doing any of this stuff. Then I was like, I just need to finish it. Like, I need to get this done and off my plate. Like, if this is the last thing that I have to do, just do it. So once I seamed the whole thing together, I tried it on and I absolutely love it. It's a simple boxy tee. It's not anything special, but I really love the shifted seam and the stripe, how they're offset, and the offset hem and everything. I just think it's really cool. And how it shifts to the front. Like, the longer length will shift to the front and the shorter length will shift to the back, but only by like 3 inches. Anyway, so I will type this up, tech edit, and put it up on Ravelry. You guys will know when that's done, and it'll probably take like a month. But yeah, so look forward to that in the future, and I will let you guys know when it's up. I knit this out of Captiva, which is 60 cotton, 23 polyester, 17 acrylic. I've used this a lot because I bought a lot and I had to do something with it. And Habu silk wrapped paper, which is a linen wrapped with a silk thread. I used US 7 needles. So moving on to Whips, which is my June sock. It's made from Kaleidoscope yarns. The colorway is Doodle Art, and it's this rainbow with black sections. So you can see this is how the yarn is kind of dyed. It's got black sections in between a rainbow of colors. Here is what I have on these. I'm only, in 2 weeks, I knit about 2 inches. Go me. So this is my progress keeper. I've knit about 2.5 inches on this lovely sock. At least now it's got a pattern. So I really like this. This is the Hermione's Everyday by Erika, Lueder, and I like this texture, but on this, with this yarn, because it's so crazy colorful, that's all it does is add texture. You can't even really tell what the pattern is until you look at it closely, but I don't mind that. I actually like it a lot. These would have been fine as a plain vanilla, but I really wanted to try different stitch patterns and stuff for my calendar monthly socks. So these are going fine. I'll probably focus more on these this week. I was really into my Garter Goodness shawl, so these kind of got not so much love. I'm knitting these on Knit Pro Zing's 2mm, and the yarn is 75 superwash merino, 20 nylon, 25 nylon, 463 yards. And yeah, it's 1x1 rib. And then the pattern, this is a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm sure everybody has heard or knit these before, so I'm a little late to that party. But this is a smaller needle than I normally use, which I really like the fabric that I'm producing. I usually knit on 2.25mm. Like I said, this is 2mm, and I bought these to try to create a tighter gauge, and I really like this fabric that it produces. I don't know, it's just that hair tighter that's nice. So might switch to 2mm needles. I have a lot of 2.25, so I'll probably still use those, but I do like 2mm. And I think that's it for the everyday socks. Like I said, I'll try to work more on them. I just really fell in love. Here's Kaleidoscope Yarns info. She's on Etsy. I will definitely put her in the show notes. I love her yarns. Yeah, so I knit a lot on my Garter Goodness because I was getting so into it. The shape is starting to really form. The stripes look amazing. I'm trying to knit through the pink to get to the next green stripe section and just absolutely love it. So the Garter Goodness is by Stephen West, and here is what I have. It's on a super short cable, so it's all scrunched together. You won't be able to see any of it. Here is where I was the last time, so I've added on 3 more pink stripe repeats, and I have 1 more pink stripe up here, and then I get to start the green, which is in I'm doing my own stripe pattern, but there's 6 sections, and I'm trying to do the stripes for like a section or a section and a half in length. So I have my yellow, orange, pink. Here is the section, beginning of section 5, which I'm almost done with. And then I'll start section 6, and at section 6, I will add this green. I think it's called sea green or something. It's from Be Sweet. It's their skinny wool, and I'll probably hold 2. It's a single, so I'll probably hold 2 strands together because it's really thin. It's like a lace weight. So this I will do, I think I'm going to revise my stripe for the green to a 4x10 stripe repeat. And then I plan to do a solid border with this purple. It's not, he does a solid black stripe and I just wanted to do a purple. It's not a real, it's not like a lace border. It's still just the garter stitch repeat, but I really liked how he ended it with like a chunk of color, so I want to do the same with this purple. So this thing is getting massive and I absolutely love it. That's why I knit on it so much. I want to get through the pink to see the green because I'm really excited the way that the colors are coming out on this. Knitting these with US 5s, which is a 3.75, but for the pink, which is Magpie Fibers Shocking in her DK, which is like butter. I need to knit more with this. It's Swanky DK. This is so soft. I absolutely love it. It's got some cashmere in it. So it's 80 superwash merino, 10 cashmere, 10 nylon, 250 yards. So it is a DK. It's a little bit thicker than the fingering. So I've switched to a size US 6, which for these is a 4.25. I think 6s are usually 4 millimeter, but these have that little 0.25, which is also nice. Just for the pink stripes to create a bit of a bigger stitch so it doesn't get, it keeps kind of the same loose gauge as the rest of the fingering yarns. And I've been working on flicking, like trying to improve my flicking. I wanted to knit a little bit faster, so I've tried to do flicking. I think it works better with socks because they're smaller stitches, smaller needles, and it's it doesn't weigh as much. When I try and start flicking with all of the weight, I don't know, just like that one off. I think the weight of the shawl really distracts me from the flicking, and I just start like holding it like I normally hold my yarn. So I've been practicing, not so well, but I don't know. I think I'm going to get the hang of it. Yeah, I switch back and forth when I'm doing it with these garter shawls. They're perfect for practicing the flicking. I don't think I could ever flick in a purl motion. That's way too hard for me. I'll get the knit stitch down first. So it makes for great practice because it's all just knit stitches on these garter shawls, but I don't know, it's still a little slow going for me. Practice makes perfect, I guess. So that is my garter goodness. And my last whip that I've been working on is my vanilla bean socks. I think it's the Vanilla Bean Striped Sock is the name of the pattern by Emily O'Grady. And I would technically be done with these socks, but I wanted to cut the second afterthought heel to show you guys if you're interested in doing something like that. So you've seen these a bazillion times, so I finished this one and I'm doing a true afterthought heel, Fish Lips Kiss heel. And I made these really, really tall because I want to do an embroidered thing 1 and thing 2 on the sock. The yarn I'm using, and I have a lot left over. I'm thinking I might try and use the rest of it as like a candy cane stripe for Christmas socks. But it's from Neely's Knits, can find her on Etsy, and this is her Thing 1 Thing 2 on her sparkle sock base, which is 80 superwash, 15 nylon, 5 stellina, 438 yards of the stripe, and then it comes with the contrasting blue with 100 yards. So there's a lot of yardage for these socks, which is another reason why I wanted to make them really tall, to try and use up as much stripe sock yarn as possible. But I'm still left with a huge amount. But if I did another sock, regular size, with like green contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes, that was funny. I could probably bang out another pair of socks with this skein. I started with 60 stitches. These are toe up, and it's the vanilla bean is just this slip stitch pattern in between the color changes. And then I did some increases on the calf here, which on the second one I placed, on the first one I placed on the sides, and on the second one I placed them all on center back. I don't know if you're going to be able to see these, but they should be somewhere around here. And I did less increases. I think I ended with, okay, so I started with 60, and then I added 2 for my instep, and then I think I added another 8, so I think I end with 70 or 72, something around there. And then it's a 2x2 cuff. Yeah, so this is where I was the last time. This is my Suker Miniatures Progress Keeper, the winter cookie that she had. And so I finished the calf and then the cuff, and I wanted to show how to do a true afterthought heel if you are interested in ever doing one of these. I think these actually knit faster than most of my socks because I got to skip the heel. I'm not a big fan of heels, so I might start trying out more afterthought heels. I've done a afterthought heel where you put in the waist yarn, and then I've tried these, and they're both so similar that I can't really say I like one more than the other. But I think I might try doing afterthought heels as my heel. I think I prefer it more than knitting the heel into the sock, because knitting the tube to me just goes by so much faster. I think I slow down when I get near a heel. I think a lot of people do that, and to just knit right past it and figure it out later is nice. And then the heel is just like a small little chunk. It's not a big project, so that's easy to just sit down and be like, oh, I just need to do a heel. To me anyway. I think about it in like sections and chunks. So a heel is easier to do than like, I have to do the heel and then I've got 5 more inches of leg and then a 2x2 rib cuff or whatever. So anyway, that was rambly. The afterthought heel, you pick up one row where you want to place your heel. So that's what I've done on these. Oh, these are my signature. I used to knit this sock with signatures. These are 2.25, which is a US 1. Karen told me that they're thinking about making the 2mm, which I believe is the 0. So that would be awesome if they did, because I still didn't look that up yet. To confirm if they're making the US 0s or not, but Karen heard it from the horse's mouth, so I will believe you. Anyway, this is where you want to put your heel. You pick up the row of stitches, and I want to do it in between the 2 stripes, so this is my picked up stitch row, and then the row below you pick up the middle stitch, if you can find one, which is what I have on this safety pin, and this is what you're going to cut. So if you're afraid, most people are just afraid of cutting their yarn or cutting into their made product, that it's going to unravel, it's going to make a mess, and maybe they'll cut the wrong thing. So what I suggest is to actually put that stitch on a safety pin and then pull it out, or just pull out the stitch. Because you're pulling that row and making it tighter, but you're unpicking all of this row anyway, so by pulling it like a snag, it doesn't really matter that you're puckering all the rest of the stitches because you're pulling those out. So now you have your stitch pulled out, and you can easily slip your scissors into that stitch and cut it. So now you have your cut stitch, and what you're going to do with that is unravel that whole row. I hadn't really thought of how I'm going to show this on the podcast, other than cutting the stitch. Okay, so I just got one. But you're going to unravel. I've got that one stitch pulled out, and you're going to pick up all of your live stitches that you create. I hope this is coming out. So, but you're going to unpick that whole row below your picked up stitches, half and then half, putting on 2 separate needles. So now you'll have your 3 needles for your heel. And you can unpick a couple at a time. You'll already have those top stitches on your needles, so those won't be going anywhere, but you will be creating live stitches. There's a couple. There's a couple more. So you'll pick up those stitches. It goes by pretty fast when you unpick like 3 or so stitches and then pick them up on your needle, and then do another 3 and pick them up on your needle. And they're not going anywhere as long as you don't pull on them. And there you go. That's what you're going to do for your afterthought heel, and then you just start knitting with your contrast, or start knitting with the yarn. And that is how you do a true afterthought heel, if anybody was interested. I don't think you should be terribly afraid of cutting your stitches, especially since it's just one that you have to cut, and then you'll have to weave in those when you go out from the center, unpicking your stitches. You'll have, I mean, it's just a couple inches of yarn that you'll have to weave in, but that's it. Moving on to spinning. Oh, I hope to have these done by the end of, for next episode, because all I have to do is that heel, weave in my ends, and then embroider my thing 1 and thing 2 on the socks. So maybe I'll have another FO for next week. Well, 1 FO for next week, but it'll be 2 weeks in a row that I've finished an object. That's pretty amazing for me. Next thing I want to talk about is spinning. So, the spin along. The spin along that I'm doing for June is still going on. It ends the end of June, and I will put in a thread in the Ravelry group for finished objects. You just can show off your skein of handspun yarn. So chatter is welcome. You can post as many photos as you want. Once you post a photo, though, you will only be, that is, every person gets just 1 entry. I have 2 prizes to give out, and that one post or whatever will enter you to win one of the 2 prizes. I like to spread around the prizes so that the same person doesn't get both, basically is what I'm saying. So the two prizes are, one is $30 US worth of Classy Squid Fibre Co. Fibre. I will be working with Amanda on how to do that exactly. And then the second prize is 3 patterns of your choice, basically. And next podcast, I want to go over patterns that are really good for hand knits and what would make a good pattern for handspun yarn. And okay, so this week for things that I wanted to go over for spinning, I've gone over the materials that you would need, some tricks, and so this and drafting. This episode I wanted to go over how to finish yarns. I wanted to kind of touch on plying and how you would, like what materials you would need, basically. Excuse me. I don't want to go over how to ply. There are plenty of videos out there on how to ply, but I'd like to go over the materials that you would need to ply so that you can look up other people's videos, but at least know what you need to start with. So you need a lazy Kate. I use, as I've shown before, I still have my trusty box here. It's like the size of a shoebox, and I put some holes in it so that you can fit your spindle and you can fit a knitting needle through for plying. And there is, in the thread for spinning tips and tricks, there's Jennifer put in a photo of how you can use a laundry basket because it's got the braided holes in it. So you can use that as well. And she also shows in her videos a beautiful lazy Kate that she got from Golding, which I think is gorgeous, and I would love one of those. Maybe that's another birthday present as well. Got a laundry list of birthday presents. Okay, so you need a lazy Kate. Getting distracted with all the thoughts of presents. A lazy Kate, a straight knitting needle, or a toilet paper roll. So what I do is I have put my singles on directly from the spindle onto a knitting needle, a straight knitting needle before, and plied from that. And I've also wound them into small cakes and put them on a toilet paper roll, which I then put the knitting needle through, and it sits the same way on the lazy Kate, like so. So I've got my 2 areas where I can hold my singles, and then you'll pull from both of those and ply in the opposite direction of what you spun. And that's how you ply in a nutshell. So for finishing your yarn, the materials that you will need are a nitty knotty. You can also use you basically need something to wrap your yarn around. So you can use a chair, you can use your forearm. I've seen in videos where people wrap it around their bicep and then on their hand and whatever. And then I use my Katrinkles 1 yard nitty knotty. And they come in 2 yards, and I don't know if Katrinkles sells them in 2 yards, but you can even make your own out of a PVC pipe. Or you can use a reel, which is like those re-skeiner machines. It's basically a Swift, but upright. It kind of looks like a Ferris wheel. You can use one of those to wrap your yarn around. You just need something to wrap your yarn around. You also need scraps of yarn that won't bleed. I use this as my scrap of yarn. I know that it doesn't bleed. You need that to wrap your yarn with or to tie it off with. You need a towel. You need a place for your yarn to dry. You can either lay it flat or hang it somewhere like in your shower. You also need or on a drying rack. You need a place to wash in a basin or a sink. You need your soap and you need yarn. I use Soak or Eucalan. There's also other brands out there. I know it begins with a unicorn. It's got the word unicorn in it. I think it's just called Unicorn Wash or something. I have not tried that one yet, but I mean the no rinse soaps are, I don't know, they're just soaps, and they come in different scents and stuff. So you're going to wind your yarn around whatever tool you're using. In my case, I would do it around my niddy noddy. I've started to wind around a chair just because I've started to spin more amounts, so the 1 yard is really good for sampling, not so great for when you start spinning larger quantities. So I'll wrap around my niddy noddy, and then I will take my scrap yarn and do a figure 8. I will tie off the yarn in a figure 8. So you just take a couple sections. You create sections just with your finger. It doesn't have to be exact, it doesn't have to be half or anything like that, but you create this figure 8 tie. And you do that about 3 to 5 times is what I've found on the internet for people's instructions. I just do 3 or 4. So you tie off your yarn, so then you're going to take it off your winding, whatever you use to wind it on. Take it off that. And then you will soak it in warm or boiling hot water. So the reason I say warm is because in past episodes, I know warm to boiling hot is a pretty large range, but I say warm in there because at first I started doing it all in boiling water, but let me go get it real quick. This yarn that I've spun, and my first attempt of soaking and washing, I did it in boiling water, and this is what I got. So there's a big difference. The red bled on everything. So I didn't really, because I was instructed to use boiling hot water. So I was like, well, now what am I supposed to do? So I soaked this in warm tap water, and the rest of it came out fine. And you can see the difference. So if you're afraid that, or you do your sample, because you're supposed to do a sample first when you spin. I just sometimes don't. It's like your swatch, basically. So you're going, this is what you're trying to achieve, or you can switch to something else. But, you go through all of your processes to see what your end yarn is going to look like. And I did not like this, and I knew it was bleeding, and I knew I didn't want to do this. So that's why the rest of it I just did in a warm soak, and the red did not bleed onto the yellow and all the other colors. So do your sample if you are afraid that the colors are going to bleed. Now, if you're doing something like this that's all pink, if you're doing a solid color, mine happens to be all pink, there is nothing for it to bleed onto. So you don't have to worry about that bleeding. But if you're worried that the colors are going to bleed, like if I didn't soak this. I don't think I soaked this one. Maybe I did. Like this, if I was afraid that those darker colors were going to bleed onto the yellow, I probably would do a warm soak to test, or you could, with your sample, split it and do a hot soak and a warm soak if you really want to. But you do not, I was under the impression that you had to use boiling hot water for soaking. You don't. Play around with it. Just like anything else in spinning, you just play around with it until it works out well. So you will submerge your yarn into your water. Okay, so your sink has your soak in it already with the water, and you put your yarn, your tied up yarn, into the sink. You need to, don't agitate it, but maybe squeeze it a little so that the water really saturates the yarn. You don't just want to like lay it on top because the yarn needs to be pressed down a little bit. And leave it there for 10 to 15 minutes in the soak. Take it out. It's a no rinse, so you just gently squeeze out some of the yarn, then you roll the water, squeeze out some of the water, and roll your skein in the towel and then step on it. And that will help get out some of the extra water. And then just, if you want to thwack or snap your yarn, now would be the time. And then you will hang it or lay it flat to dry. Okay, so thwacking and snapping. Thwacking I haven't actually done yet, but you're supposed to take the end of your yarn, one end of your yarn, and then beat the other end on like a hard surface like your tub. I think people also spin it around. Isn't that thwacking as well? Okay, so I don't really know the exact definition. Oh, I forgot to put my microphone back on. I hope you guys heard all that. Maybe at a lighter volume. I definitely know that thwacking is beating it against something hard. I'm not sure about the spinning one. I might have just made that one up. Like you spin it around like a whip. I think I've heard that somewhere. Anyway, snapping is what I tend to do now, which is I will hold my wet yarn in my hands like this and snap it a couple times. And then the same thing with thwacking. You want to rotate your yarn so that all of your yarn gets fluffed up and snapped a little bit. Thwacking and snapping are technically used more, or they're supposed to be used more for a really hairy yarn that you want to fluff up, like an Angora or a mohair. I do it with all my yarns because I think it really adds a lofty, squishy fluffiness to them. Just how I like my yarn. So it's not always used, and I think that there are some people out there who believe that it should only be used if you're trying to fluff up a hairy yarn that is supposed to have a natural halo to it. I just do it with all my yarn because I think it's squishy. Then you hang it out or lay it out to dry. I used to, for other washing things, sorry I'm jumping around, I'm now looking back at my show notes and find out that I skipped a couple things. To full your yarn, which is when you take a single, it's usually done with singles to add more structure and make them stronger, a single yarn stronger. To full your yarn, you will use boiling hot water and ice cold water, and you'll switch between the two buckets. So you can start in either one, but you'll leave it there for a little while, then you'll pick it up, squeeze out the water, put it into the other one, pick it up, squeeze it out, and you do that a couple times back and forth like that. No agitation is done with fulling though. It's the whole process is shocking the fibers through temperature. When you felt your yarn, you do that same process, only you will agitate your yarn to add even more structure and make the fibers really condense and make a denser yarn. Fulling is basically a light felting just to secure the fibers a bit more, a bit better. After your yarn is dry, you might want to figure out the yardage. And to do that, I have a 1 yard niddy noddy, and if you know your measurement, you can count your strands. So you can count your strands, and then, so say this is 50, and I did it on my 1 yard niddy noddy, you multiply those two, and you have 50 yards. Some people have the 2-yard nitty knotty. If you don't know your measurement, you can, like, sometimes I'll use my chair, and I know that my chair's circumference is 42 inches. So I count my strands, multiply it by 42 inches, and then I'll just divide by a yard, 36 inches, to know my yardage. You can set up, Jennifer in her videos talks about setting up her chairs so that she knows that the circumference is a 2-yard circumference. You can also do that. You can automatically set it up to know an actual yard amount. I just choose to use one chair and it's 42 inches. So if you know your circumference, you can figure out your yardage that way. You can also use a yardage meter. You can go out and purchase a yardage meter. So when you wind your yarn into a cake, you thread it through this machine, and it counts your yards as you're winding your yarn into a cake. So you can use one of those to also figure out your yardage. Another nifty tool is your wraps per inch, which is what I have shown before. This is also from Katrinkles, and you can figure out the weight of your yarn for you to easily pick needles to match when you do knit with it. And it's just another, I guess, classification to know about your hand knit yarn. Now, there is a step that I used to do with my yarn, which is I would add a weight to my yarn when I hung it for my singles. So I'd hang my singles and then I would add a weight to it to make the yarn straight. I have since stopped doing this because I have been finding out that it's good for weaving. So if you plan to weave with your handspun yarn to help straighten out your yarn for weaving, weavers will weight their yarn when it's drying to straighten it out. But for knitting, it's not really helpful at all. So I've stopped adding a weight to the bottom of my yarn when I let it dry, because it can also remove some of the elasticity in your yarn, so it won't have any memory or give. And it also, when you do knit with that yarn and then you make your final product and you soak that final product, the yarn can go back to its natural state of being more elastic and more puffy, and it can cause puckering in your finished garment. So it's another reason why I've stopped weighting my yarn, is to find this is more of its natural state, and this is what you kind of want to work with when, well, it's not kind of, it is what you want to work with when you're making a garment. You want to know how your yarn is going to react. So by weighing your yarn, you take out some of its properties, some of its elasticity, some of its fluffiness. Anyway, so that's something to keep in mind as well. But if you are planning on weaving, weighing your yarn when it's drying is a technique you might want to try. And I think that is basically it for finishing. A couple things that I just wanted to say for the benefits of finishing your yarn are to see if the dyes run and to get rid of any extra dyes or oil, to relax the fibers and help it drape better, to set the twist. It softens the yarn. It evens out the twist throughout the skein, and it also can bring out the halo in fuzzy yarns like Angora and Mohair. Now on to what I have been spinning with. I've been spinning my Classy Squid Fibre Co. fibers, and I finished my apple picking. So my last two were these, the red and the green, and the darker green, I should say. The darker red and the darker green. It is a single. It's kind of a light fingering to maybe a sport or a DK. Trying to keep it in the fingering realm, but I mean, they just came out really cool. I love all the fibers in here. She did an excellent job mixing in little bits. I mean, this, I've rattled off what's in here, and it's really just everything from sparkles to just a bunch of sheeps. A bunch of different sheeps are in here. So here is that whole group from the apple picking mini bats, and this I am planning to use to make a dotted raise shawl. And I don't think I have the correct yardage. I'm positive I don't have the correct yardage. I want to make the bigger one, but I might have to make the smaller one because I don't really want to add a ton of yarn, but I do plan on adding the yellow that I use for my Garter goodness. It's Two Guys Yarn Company or Fibre Company, and it's the merino and silk yellow. I think it's called Walk Along the Sun, but I'm going to add that yellow in throughout as stripes, as rays in the dotted raise shawl. Yeah, so that's one of my projects that I'm going to start for the July knit along. Next is the beet salad. So last week I showed, here is beet salad in its mini bat form. And it is organic Polworth bamboo and silk noil. And last week I showed my samples because I did a single ply, a loose spun single ply, and a 2-ply. And if you saw on my Instagram, I posted these swatches because I still wasn't sure how I wanted to spin these. So there's the single knit. And then here is the 2-ply knit into a swatch. So I still couldn't make my mind up. I got mixed feedback of everybody really liked both. It was, I mean, some people like the single, some people like the 2-ply, but basically it was like a 50-50 of what they liked, what people liked. So since I couldn't make up my mind, I still couldn't make up my mind. The single is much softer, and I love softer. The 2-ply will obviously have a better structure, and it won't pill as much, but anyway, I couldn't make up my mind, so I'm spinning both. I have about 7 ounces total of the beet salad colorway, so I'm just splitting it in half, and I've spun up all of my single. So here's my fluffy single, and then I am going to spin a 2-ply. So what I did was I broke apart the battling for my 2-ply sample to have all of it came like this, and I broke apart the pink and the green. So the pinks were together and the green and the yellow was together. Go Green Bay, cheeseheads. That's all I can think about when I see this green and yellow together. Anywho, so I was guaranteed with my 2-ply to get barber pulling throughout the whole thing, which I thought was kind of cool. And that bamboo shine is just amazing because it gets split into both. Well, this one not so much, but this shiny white bamboo in there was in both sections on most of my 2-ply. Maybe it wasn't, no, this one's on the yellow. Anyway, so the bamboo gets put in throughout as like a shiny accent. Actually, on my singles as well. I said this the last time, but I think it shows up more in the 2-ply than it does in the singles. the shininess. Anywho. So I've spun all of my singles. I was just having fun with them. They're loosely spun to keep its squishiness, and there's everything from fingering to worsted in here. I really wasn't trying to be consistent at all. I just wanted to spin something fun, and I love how it turned out. The 2-ply, I will try to be more consistent with my sample, which I think is more of a worsted weight. So I will spin more evenly for my 2-ply, which is what I need to work on next with the beet salad. The next one that I've worked on is ice cabbage, which was a braid of Polworth. Oh, snow cabbage. Snow cabbages. There's my label. It is Polworth, 4 ounces, and here is what I have left. It's about half the braid. So it's got blues and greens of all different colors, and then these pinks and purples. Heavily saturated colors, but when they're spun up with the undyed white, they come out. Here's the sample that I spun originally, and I didn't like it, but I'm showing because this is it in a singles form. So I did get some of the more saturated in here, but then there's lighter blues and greens, but it dulls down the colors with the white. So this was a single, and it's all over the place. I wasn't consistent, and I just didn't really think that this was what I wanted as an end result. So I created a 2-ply with which is what I'm going to do for the rest of the braid. And I plan on making a pair of fingerless mitts for my mother-in-law. She's going to be moving to a cooler climate, and I thought that she would really like a pair. And this, these colors remind me of her hair because she dyes her hair purple and teal, just like streaks in the front. And it's like these exact colors, so it totally reminded me of her. And I love it. And I hope she loves it too. And Dorian, if you're watching, just fake it if you don't like them. I mean, to not hurt my feelings. She sometimes watches the podcast. The next one that I have is the oyster roll-eggs, and those are these bad boys, and it's organic Polworth, mulberry silk, carbonized bamboo, Firestar, and Angelina. It's a gradient from a shiny white. Let's get the whole thing in here. It goes from this shiny white into the gray and then into the black. And the cool thing that I like about these, the whole reason I bought these is because I saw carbonized bamboo and I was like, I've never heard of that ever, and I need to try that because I don't even know what that is. And I only bought 1 bag. Needless to say, I'm gonna have to go out and buy more, but I'll get to that in a second. I thought, it was so funny too, because I had my shopping cart and I was like, let me peruse one last time. Of course, when you say that, you know that you're looking for stuff to buy. So I saw the carbonized bamboo and I had to purchase, 2 ounces, which I think is 6 roll eggs. And I was just gonna sample with it, but now I've come up with a really cool idea. So it starts out with this shiny white. It's the Polworth and mulberry silk, and it's got some of the Firestar or Angelina, I can't tell the difference, and in it, and then it goes up into the mix of the two, which forms the gray, and then the carbonized bamboo is this one, which is a matte charcoal color. And they're just so cool. I love them. And I made a lace to light fingering weight 2-ply, which was really cool. I love the way it came out. And what I plan to do with this is, so this is one rolag and one rolag, and I spun both entirely and then plied them together so that the colors matched up. I got white with white, gray with gray, and black with black. So what I plan on doing is a shawl. Only with the shawl, you get the longer rows, the bigger the shawl gets. So my white and black rows would not look even in height. So what I plan to do is, this is 1 to 1, I'm going to do 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4, so that my stripe heights will remain the same, in theory, throughout the whole shawl. So it'll be a black and white stripe with little gray sections, but it's got these awesome sparkles in here, and it looks awesome. The carbonized bamboo, I'm going to talk about in a second with the new to me fibers that I've been working with, but it's really fun to spin with. If you get a chance to pick some up, I highly recommend it. It twists up so nice. I guess I should say spins up, right? It spins up so nice. And the ply came out really nice and tight. And it's easy to work with. I found it very easy to work with. It's got a very dry hand feel, and it's also quite grippy. It's kind of funny because it's almost the opposite of bamboo to me. Not only in look and texture, but how to spin with it. So if you're looking for a new fiber to try, go out and try carbonized bamboo. Those are the 4 fibers that I've been spinning with this week. And I wanted to go over the new to me fibers that I've been working with. So those are Pullworth, the carbonized bamboo, mulberry silk, and silk noils. Not all of those are new to me, I guess, but I figured I add in some of the silk. Usually I go over the breeds of the sheep, but I thought I would add in some of the other fibers just because, why not? Now, if you don't know the difference, I think this would be really a cool learning experience. Maybe. So Pullworth, which is in a couple of the ones, but this one is my main Pullworth. This is 100% Pullworth. Pullworth was developed in Australia in 1880, I think? Yes. The breed of sheep, I should say. I should clarify. The fiber was just found in Australia, lying on some bushes. No. The bloodline is 1/4 Lincoln and 3/4 Merino, is what Pullworth is made up of. It has, it's a dual purpose sheep, meaning that it's produced for its wool and its meat, or can be used for its wool and its meat. Mostly comes in a natural white color, but there are natural black, gray, and brown sheep. It has a micron of 23 to 25. Staple length is 5 to 7 inches. It has, I think it's kind of similar to the carbonized bamboo, for me anyway, that it's got this dry hand feel and it's got a matte look to it. I mean, all sheep breeds, I guess, have a matte look, but it just has this dry, matte touch. And it does have, it's said to be a good beginner fiber because of the long staple length, and it's kind of like a merino. I mean, it's made from merino sheep, so it obviously has characteristics and feel of a merino, but with the longer staple length, and it's got a denser micron, so it makes a little bit of a denser, beefier yarn than a merino. Beefier yarn. The next one is the carbonized bamboo. So like I said, it's got this matte look to it. It's not black, it's a charcoal, but it is referred to as black diamond or black gold. So the chemical process to make carbonized bamboo fiber is called pyrolysis. I looked that one up. Sound really smart when I say words like that. And it's basically to heat it's making a carbon copy of actual bamboo using extremely high temperatures. The carbon fiber though, I couldn't find a ton of information on it, but from what I found, it was bamboo heated using extremely high temperatures, and then it forms, like, the leftover is turned into a powder, and then it's epoxied with another fiber, so it could be like a polyester or another bamboo fiber, and that's where this fiber actually comes from, if I'm understanding that correctly. I'm trying not to give you guys bad information, but I really couldn't find that much about it, and that's basically what I found about it. And it's very strong fiber. It has great drape. It's great for spinning because it has this nice grip to it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, spinning with it. And carbonized bamboo is also resistant to UV rays and has anti-odor properties. So those are some fun facts about carbonized bamboo. Next is mulberry silk. It is, okay, so I read here that it's the highest quality silk, but I think they're saying that because of its properties, because, well, not properties, its characteristics, because it's a very long filament. It's longer than if you found it in nature, because, or like a raw silk. Raw silk has a shorter staple length. So mulberry silk, it means that the silkworm was fed only mulberry leaves, and they produce a pure white cocoon. So also raw silks, they have they could have a slight color to them. And the mulberry silk cocoon is it produces more of a uniformed thickness. So raw silk, again, can have a couple imperfections or different, I mean, it's not like a thick and thin yarn or anything spun from this silkworm, but it's just a more consistent, less impurities type of silk that's formed from the worm eating only mulberry leaves. But that is what mulberry silk means when you see it. So there are plenty of forms of silk, and this one is the mulberry silk. Silk noils are those little bumps. So what do I have them in? I have them in the beets. Here they are in the beet salad. It's these little bits of white. There we go. That is a silk noil. And noil just means short fiber. So you can find them in wool as well. So basically these are kind of like the leftovers from a combing process. And it's just little bits of fiber that aren't really great for spinning by themselves because they're too short, but they're added in to the fiber bats, or can be added into the fiber bats, just to add little bits and fun lumpy parts. That's the technical term. They are, yeah, that's what silk noil is. It's bits of silk that are too short to actually spin with. They're just little short fibers of silk. And those are the new to me fibers. I just wanted to say a quick couple words about Tour de Fleece that's going on in July 2nd to the 24th. If you're interested in joining, I have joined Jennifer's group at Blaine Fleece and Fibre because she's very chill, and I like that she's really inspired me. She's kind of like a mentor, I feel. She has really inspired me in my spinning just because of the way that she talks about it and handles it. She's kind of like, do whatever feels right for you and just go with it. And she's handling her Tour de Fleece group kind of the same way. Somebody wrote in her group, I saw probably a week ago, that they were like, I just started spinning and I, like, for the challenging days of Tour de Fleece, I'm not sure what I should be doing because I find spinning already a challenge. And Jennifer was just like, then just spin. Like, you don't have to come up with a creative, challenging day for those days. And I just love that because that's exactly, she just wants you to spin. Like the same thing with my spin along right now. Like, just spin something, spin 10 yards, spin, if you want to learn how to spin, just try something. And so I really relate to the way that she handles spinning as a craft, as a hobby. So that's why I've joined her group. And she has extended her sign up to her group till June 30th. So if you would like to join her group, go over, check it out. But again, I'm going to put links to the Tour de Fleece and to her Tour de Fleece group at Blaine Fleece and Fibre in the show notes so that you can check out both if you're interested in joining Tour de Fleece in general. So I mentioned challenging days. So what Tour de Fleece is, I have a little bit more information than I did last week, understanding of it all. It's you spin every day that the Tour de France is going on. So they do have a couple rest days in the Tour de France, and you do not spin or don't have to spin on those 2 days. But it's a challenge, it's a competition. I was reading, Jennifer wrote that it's less competitive than Spinzilla, I guess, but I'm sure it still has its competitive teams and parts about it. So so you spin every day the Tour de France is going on, and so just like Tour de France, they have challenging uphill days. They put, and I think it's like 2 days, it's like the 9th and the 12th or the 21st or something, I'll put it somewhere. But so on those 2 days, the challenging days, you're supposed to do something that's challenging for you. So I'm thinking about spinning from the fold or spinning a chunky art yarn, trying ply on the fly because I've never done that before. I'm not even really sure what it is, but I'll find out and I'll try it. And then on all the other days, you just spin. You can make up your own amount that you want to spin or what have you, compete with yourself, but you're just supposed to spin every day the Tour de France is going on. Yeah, so I guess I'll talk more about that when it actually happens, but that's, if you're interested in joining that, check out my show notes and you can go to the Tour de Fleece group on Ravelry that has a lot of the teams in their threads. Next is acquisitions for my spinning, which is the last segment of this episode. And I will have to pause for a hot second here while I clear off the table and get all my goodies to show you. So the first place that I ordered from is Classy Squid Fiber Co., my favorite shop on Etsy. And I ordered before the spin along, and then she did the Rhode Island Fiber Festival and put up anything that didn't sell in her Etsy shop like 2 weeks after I ordered, and I ordered again. So this is 2 purchases put together. I have a table full of fiber in front of me and it's pretty amazing. I definitely don't need to order any more fiber for a very, very long time. I think the rest of the year I'm on a fiber diet and a yarn diet. I just need to craft a lot. So the first, I don't know which one was which order, so I'll just run through them. I'm going to try and make this quick because I know that it was a really long episode. I hope you enjoyed it though. And now for some Fibre goodness. So I ordered a couple luxury yarns, fibers, because I am very interested in luxury fiber right now. So, and she had some 1 ounce packages. I'm going to keep some of this stuff in the package. These are natural colors anyway, but it's yak and silk, 50% Tibetan yak down and 50% mulberry silk. This is 1 ounce, and it's just, I know that there is glare, I'm sorry, but it's a brown and it looks like a silvery gray brown, mousy color. They're natural fibers, but I just wanted to, or natural colors I should say, I just wanted to try something luxurious for a change. Actually, all fiber to me is luxurious right now because it's all pretty cool to learn with. The other ones I got, this was definitely in her in the second order because she had dyed some luxury fibers to sell. This one was baby camel and silk, 50-50. This one is like reddy yellow orange. I should show you the backs actually. She called this one Sunstone. This one, oh, this one's also baby camel. So this one she called Indian Star Ruby. It is a deep red with bits of golden color in there. And then this one, these are all 2 ounces. This one is called Blue Spiral, and this is yak down and silk, 50-50. It's a beautiful deep navy color. So I was thinking to spin all 3 of these. Sorry if that crinkling is loud. And then, I don't know, do something with all 3 maybe, maybe not. I just love the colors. They're very jewel tone, very awesome, very rich. The next thing I got was one of her nudibranch braids. This is 100% organic Polworth, 4 ounces. And I saw this a while ago when I think she's in some spinning group, belongs to or makes art bats for or fiber for. I don't know what group it is, but they pick a theme and then for that month they try and spin within that theme, and she'll create colorways or art bat boxes to use. Nudibranch, the reason I talk about this is because nudibranch was one of them. It's like a sea slug type of thing, and they're usually very bright colored. So she dyed one, braids to go along with the colorway of her photo inspiration. So I thought it was beautiful, and I picked that up. I also picked up, this was what got me on the first order. And these are cookies and cream. And this is from the alpaca that she visited on a farm. It is so soft, so soft. It's alpaca, silk noil, nylon, and bamboo is what's in these cookies and cream, and they're just black and white, and oh my gosh, it's so yummy. Anyway, so I think I got 3 bags of 2 ounces because I like to spin for big projects. So that's awesome. It is awesome. And I'm not gonna fiddle with that right now. I got, it's just called Orange. And it is orange. This is Polworth Silk Wool Top. Oh, those are 2 different words. I just read it right across the line. Polworth and silk, wool top, faux cashmere, fire star, sari silk, and silk noil. And it's, oh, that was really blown out. It is bright orange, and it's got these yellow sun streaks in it and little blobs of sari silk for pops of color right there. And so I'm trying to, I was thinking about integrating some hand-spun gifts this year for Christmas since I'm on this spinning kick and this is the year of spinning apparently. I have a friend who likes orange, and I love this orange, and I was thinking about also combining it with the nudibranch possibly. Yeah, so there is 4.2 ounces. Maybe I should make a 2-ply with those too. I don't know if the orange is overpowering. I'm not a huge fan of orange. I love this. I love saturated colors, but I'm not a big orange person. Anywho, bought it for gifts, mostly. But that one's really nice too. Plus it's mini bats. I can't refuse a mini bat, really. Then the last thing that I got from her is actually in pieces already because I've deconstructed some of her Rolags, but I can show some of it to you. Plus, I can't show you all of it because I am spinning for a friend who sometimes watches the podcast. I don't want her to find out what I'm doing. But this is some of her dyed Rolags, and it was in a purple colorway, and I mentioned it on Instagram, and then I totally freaked that somebody was going to go and purchase them, so I went and bought them. Deserve that for mentioning it on Instagram. And then, like, you ever do something like that? You like tell somebody about this really great thing that you found, and then you have to go and buy it because you're afraid that they're gonna buy it? No? Well, it happened to me, and I had to buy them all out. But it's purple. It was a gradient of purple, and here's some of them. And it is Shetland and yak down. So the little white fluffs are yak down, and they're super soft and fluffy, and it's just these puffs. Like, it's not even like fiber in any direction. It's just a puff of fiber. I mean, it's not like hairs in any direction. It's just fluff. But they're really soft. I've spun a sample, and I'm really loving them. And that is what I purchased from Classy Squid in my 2 purchases from her that came in. I'm like waist deep in fiber over here. I really should stop buying. But I have one more group of acquisitions to show you. Oh, and Amanda sent me some. She is now selling Eucalan, and I think she's selling that unicorn wash. She has now become an official distributor. So she sent me some little ones to try, and these are actually all scented. No, that one's natural, so that's not scented. But she sent me some of their scented ones to try, which I'm really excited about because I just have the unscented. I've never tried a scented one. So it's like lavender, grapefruit, eucalyptus, and jasmine. So I'm excited to try those out. Thank you very much, Amanda. I really love her stuff. I can't help it. Everything she does, I want. Anywho. Okay, so my next acquisition was actually from Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. I did not go, although I wanted to be there. Karen, a very good friend of mine, reached out to me and said, I'm going, do you want me to be your personal shopper? And I absolutely did want her to be my personal shopper because it's one thing I really miss about being in an area, not just being in the States, but being in an area that has festivals like that. I'm a fair person. I love state fairs. I like just any kind of festival. I even love the street festivals in New York, which aren't really festivals, but it's their version. It's okay. But wool festivals, and now that I spin, I couldn't say no. How could you say no to that? So I wired her some money. So this is, I just wanted to clarify this because it's a lot of stuff I'm showing you. I don't want you to think that Karen went out and bought this for me. It was my money. And she did an amazing job spending my money. Karen, you can spend my money anytime you want. Where to start? There's so much. And as soon as I got this package, first of all, let me tell you, I was speechless. I'm still pretty speechless. Everything that she got, everything that she purchased, I say got a lot, and I need to cut that out. I don't like, I got this. Everything that she purchased for me is so perfect. I couldn't even put into words when I sent her a thank you letter. It's so, I gave her a couple hints of what I liked, and there was one specific thing, or a couple specific things, which she did find. But it really was kind of like, just go out and buy me fun, fluffy things, and speechless. And she wrapped everything as a big, giant present. I mean, I was not expecting any of this. Thank you very much, Karen. On with the fluffy stuff. So, first I want to show you, this is Fin Sheep Fibre. Where's the card for this? There was a card, I swear. Shoots. No? This is Fin Sheep. And I asked her to find Fin Sheep, which was surprisingly soft. I thought this was going to be a really dense Shetlandy type of wirier fiber. It's extremely soft. And I wish I could find the stinking card. Maybe when I spin with it, I will eventually find the card for this. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it. I will find it and put it on the screen somewhere. But it's just a natural color Fin Sheep, and this was one of my specifics because the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival this year, their breed, I guess they have a breed each year that they celebrate or put as their breed of the year, nominate as their breed of the year, choose, whatever. And the Fin Sheep was their breed for this year. So I wanted to try some Fin Sheep, and since it was all the rage, I figured it wouldn't be too hard to track down. So she purchased for me a couple of ounces of Fin Sheep, which I'm excited about. The next one is this bump of, where's my cards? Now I'm losing it. It's 65 merino, 35 alpaca. It's a 5-ounce bump, and it's called Better Breakfast. And if you look in the spin along thread right now, not the finished objects, the chatter one and rules one or whatever, she's spinning with hers right now, so you can see it spun up. It's beautiful. It's so soft. This is really the reason I started spinning. It's because fiber is so soft and squishy. And this is from Knit Spot, is where she picked this up from. I'm excited. I do like spinning from a loop because it already comes in this strip and there's no pre-drafting, really is the main key there. Next is Cormo. It was kind of another specific, because I do love Cormo, and I've never spun with it before, although I have some hand-spun Cormo yarn, so I wanted to try spinning with it, and she got the brown because it's more of a unique natural color. Most Cormo fiber is white. So soft. Cormo is my absolute favorite. It's so, so nice. I'm very excited for this one. And this is the farm that she bought the Cormo from. So, I love this. This is so exciting for me. I wish I could have been there, but I think it's really cool to have such a menagerie of different types of fiber. The last natural colored fiber that Karen bought for me was Paco Vicuna, and it's 100% Paco Vicuna roving. This is 1 ounce, and she called this the splurge because it was a bit of a splurge for 1 ounce, but it is so soft. It's like softer than cashmere, and I'm so excited. I think this is going to be for real my gateway luxury fiber, because now after she purchased this for me, I'm like, what about Kivu? What about cashmere and bison? And I've got these yak and baby camel, and I'm very into luxury fibers after this little gem. It's so soft and I love it. And the funny thing behind this farm, I last year purchased, because this farm sells not only the fiber, but they sell their spun yarn, and I purchased a boatload of yarn from them, which I still haven't knit with. Maybe I should crack on with that, of their Paco Vicuna yarn, which is a mix between alpaca and a vicuna. And there are a couple farms in the States, but this is the one that I've purchased from, Victory Farm. And so I have a lot of their yarn, but I never thought to purchase their fiber because at the time that I bought the yarn, I was not spinning. So I really love that she found this and purchased this. And I thought it was really cute because I have purchased their yarn before, but now I have some fiber to spin with. The last two fiber related items that Karen found are from Into the World, and I'm really excited about these as well as everything else that she bought, because people really rave about Into the World and I've never tried their stuff before. So I have a Cheviot, I believe is this one, and a Targhee, which who says no to Targhee? It's my new favorite fiber. And if I can, there we go, there's no shine on that there, that's better. Beautiful colors, and I'm just really excited, especially for the Cheviot, because I hear that this fiber makes a great sock yarn. So I want to try to knit some sock yarn with these. To make some hand knit socks. Browns and greens and blues. They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. Just a couple more things. I asked her to pick up a Wild Fibers magazine because I really like reading about fibers from all over the world. So that was awesome. This magazine is going to I think it's now once a year. She was doing, the woman who makes this magazine was doing it quarterly, but I think she's scaling it down to once a year, but a larger magazine once a year. The last thing that I wanted to show that Karen picked up was actually, she threw in a gift for me, and I wanted to show you. It is a Notions pouch from 3 Bags Full, and this stitch marker, the ice cream cone, little cookie dough ice cream. I love it. It's perfect. Couldn't be more perfect. And yeah, so Karen, thank you again for being my personal shopper. You did an amazing job. I love everything. And like I said before, you can go shopping with my money anytime you want. I already asked her if she's going to Rhinebeck. She's not, but she is. I don't blame her. She's got more important things to do. That's okay. But that is the end of my acquisitions and the end of my episode for this week. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for sticking through this extremely long episode. I will not have very long episodes like this, but it's the acquisitions and the new fibers and the new spinning, and I'm very excited about it all. Join me, subscribe and join me next week when I will be talking about, hopefully I'll have those Thing 1 and Thing 2 socks done, so I'll have another FO. But I wanted to do an overview of my goals, since it's half the year has gone by. I will see how far behind I am on so many things. I'm going to be taking a trip to Italy the beginning of July, so I wanted to touch on that quickly because I will be skipping, I think, the first week of July. I will not have an episode, but I'll talk more about that next time. I also wanted to show my July yarns next week early, and then talk about the Handspun Knit Along for July Now that the spin along will be coming to an end, we've got the hand spun knit along for the month of July. So we'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for joining me.